Hi everybody, Farmer Joel here again. It's been a couple weeks since I made a video, and now we are actually in late August. Late August is a really nice time. The weather is still beautiful. It's sunny and pleasant. Nights are not too chilly. Days are not too hot. There is a lot of abundance in the garden and throughout the farm that we are enjoying. And as I said in an earlier video, we're hitting last things now quite a bit. So this week we will be having our last plantings of the season. We've had a big push for the last several weeks to get lots of fall plants in the ground, and those things will be maturing up in the cooler weather and then kind of stalling out in their growth as we harvest them off into the last weeks of CSA. So that big push is almost to an end. There's a lot of little plantings in the garden right now, and they are all staged to mature in the next many weeks. But yeah, after this week, no more plantings. So it's a whole big category of work that is just off our plate. That's really nice. Pretty soon pruning and trellising will be off our plate. No more of that. The last batch of broilers is on the pasture. They'll be going into the butcher in a few weeks, and then we'll have no more broiler chores. Lots of last things finishing up. And as that work comes off our plate and our workload kind of diminishes, we are taking stock of everything, looking around, taking notes, really evaluating what we've done this year, how it's panned out throughout the season, what went well, what didn't go so well. Just taking a lot of time to gather in all that information, gathering in the harvest, gathering information, looking closely, just trying to get all that information inside of us and in our notebooks so that later in the fall / early winter, we can make really good plans and make wise adjustments to what we're doing. But yeah, right now gathering in the harvest, gathering in the information, and that's what this season is all about. So without further ado, let's go walk around the farm and see what's happening and get an update. It's been a couple weeks, some things have changed, and I'll go show you. So let's go. Starting at the north side of the garden, the flowers here are in full bloom. We got a lot of color, a lot of shapes coming in. It's a really nice thing. Debbie has done an excellent job on the flowers. Hopefully you've gotten a bouquet or two in your box over the last couple weeks, and you definitely want to get them while they're here because, of course, they don't last all that long in the cold weather. But it's a beautiful part of the garden, and we are really, really proud of that. It's really nice. Just over here, we've got carrots, fall carrots, that are one of our favorite crops. The carrots, as you may know, get sweeter in the cool weather, and they are sizing up nicely here. We'll have a ton of them, and once the weather gets cold, those carrots are gonna make more sugars within themselves, and the carrots become super sweet. So we're excited to have a pretty good crop of fall carrots coming along. That's really exciting. This high tunnel was the one that used to have cukes all the way up to the ceiling in it. Those have gotten ripped out. The beds are being turned over, and that will be some fall plantings. Early season crops are out now. Still digging summer carrots here. Lettuce plantings coming on board. The summer lettuce slump. We usually don't grow much lettuce in the middle of the year just because it's so hot, it doesn't do all that well. But it'll be picking up back up as the fall cooler weather comes. More onions. You can see the tops of the onions have fallen down over here. Those are storage onions. We'll be pulling them out and curing them and drying them and getting them ready for late fall when we can give them out. Peppers here. We are super excited for our peppers. We always leave our peppers on the vine to get red, and it is so worth it because they are just so sweet once we finally start picking them. But color just starting to come on some of them, and so they will be coming pretty soon, and we will have a lot of them. The pepper plants look really good, and they got a ton of fruit on there, but we've just been holding back so that they can turn red and be extra sweet. As you can see in these other high tunnels, more cucumbers and tomatoes. We haven't had to close the high tunnels yet. It's still warm enough at night, but pretty soon we'll be dropping those sides and closing the ends just to preserve heat through the night and keep that growth going further and further into the fall. So we're excited that we've got things coming late into the season. You can see back here some really small plantings. There's a lot of spinach planted back here, and greens at this other end of the garden are coming in really well. You can just see that there's a ton of little leafy greens there. They've all been planted in the last couple weeks. They're just coming up real small. but they will love the cold weather, and we will be harvesting from those beds all the way into the fall. So yeah, a lot of growth in the garden still. Ripping out first things, replanting has been going on all summer, and most of the beds in the garden are full, but now that the planting is stopped, whenever we pull out another crop, we're actually prepping that bed for next year. So some of the turnovers coming up in the next couple weeks, ripping out one crop, we'll just be prepping the ground for next year, putting down the minerals, putting down the fertility, and setting it for next spring when we start everything up again. So that may seem like a long time away to most of you guys, but for us, we are always thinking, 1.5 seasons ahead of time and prepping things for your food then. So yeah, it's important to stay way ahead like that. But the garden is beautiful right now. It's really nice to work out here in this really nice weather. Everything is lush and growing well, and it's a pleasant place to be. Let's go to the pasture. The pasture is growthy this time of year. As you can see, the grasses are hitting me on my chest in some places. And there's a yellow haze through all the grass as everything goes to seed in late summer. But we've still got animals out here somewhere. Chicken coop. Here in the chicken coop on pasture, it's a bit shady, and because it's still pretty warm during the days, a lot of the birds are here hiding under the shade. But one of the big problems that we've been having with our layers for the past several years, and if you've been a member for a couple of years, you probably know this, is that in late summer, our egg production always slumps. Typically what we do is we get chicks in the spring, we raise them up to begin laying. In the late summer, they start laying, but then the next summer is when they molt, which means they renew all of their feathers. And while their body is going through that renewal, egg production drops almost to zero. And so while our flock is going through that transition of its feathers, our egg production slumps and our members don't have eggs for a little while, which is really frustrating. You guys like eggs, we like eggs, and to have that slump late in the season is really frustrating. So we're going through that right now, and the birds are dropping in production. There's feathers on the ground in the coop and around, and once again, that dip in our production is happening. So those of you on the egg wait list, you might not get eggs this week or for the next couple weeks really. We should have enough for people who have reserved slots. But something that we're doing to correct that is start our chicks at a different time of year. So we actually have a new batch of egg laying chicks in the brooder right now, and they will begin laying in the winter time, which means in subsequent years they will renew their feathers in the winter time as well. And we don't have such a demand on our egg production at that time in the year because CSA is done for the summer and sales are just quite a bit lower. So hopefully by shifting the whole brooding, hatching, laying cycle around to a different part of the year, it'll match our sales and you guys will have eggs all summer as you would like. So I'll take you up to the brooder next and we can see those baby chicks. They're pretty cute. They just started, and hopefully they'll have they will have their new feathers by the time the cold weather sets in, and we will continue to care for them all the way through the winter, and they'll start laying sometime down then. We'll have a lot of eggs this winter, so just thinking ahead, soon we'll be opening the winter CSA share opportunities, and if you like our eggs and you weren't able to get them this year as much as you would like, that's because we've been shifting things, but hopefully you'll get back on board and get all the eggs you want through the winter to help us move that egg production, because that is also a challenge in the winter, is moving all the egg production that we have in the winter to people. And we know you guys like the eggs, we know a lot of you eat them, but a lot of people just think of CSA as a summer thing when the vegetables are there, but chickens don't stop laying eggs in the winter, so we've got to keep the sales going consistently through all parts of the calendar, or at least fairly consistently. Yeah, so these birds are doing their thing, renewing their feathers. They don't drop them all at once and grow new ones. You don't see any naked birds running around in the pasture, but they kind of shed old ones and renew from the underside new ones, and it's fairly taxing on their bodies. So maybe if I can get a bird here, I can show you what it might look like. So I've got one of our black Australorps here in my hands, and if you splay out her wing, which is not a problem for her, you can see that those top feathers are a bit ratty. These are her flight feathers, the long ones there, but the bottom ones down here are nice and smooth. And that's actually where she is in her progression. And you can see that, you can check each chicken's molting progression by expanding their wing like that, because they do one flight feather at a time, starting at the back and moving to the front. So if there's one short one in the middle here, that's where she is in her molting process, is halfway. There's still some to go, but there's some done. If that short feather was way back at the base, she would just be starting. She would lose that one and be regrowing that one. If it was way at the end and she had a short spot at the end, that would indicate that she was almost done. Most of her feathers had been renewed, only the last 2 to go. And you can count how many days that whole cycle is and know how many more days till she's done molting, but that's just a kind of a cool process way to check and see how she's doing. Good job. Keep growing your feathers. Here they are. Our last batch of chicks for the whole season. 200 egg layer chicks all in here. Perfect temperature, plenty of water, plenty of feed. And they are doing really well. They're quiet and content. And once they get a little bit bigger, we'll open a trap door in that wall, which will let them out into this larger space where they can continue to grow with heat and water, food. And yeah, those will be the egg layers of the future. So these are them, you can see them in there. These are the last batch of broilers. They are a little past halfway through their life and doing really well. But in a couple weeks, they'll go into the butcher and be done. And then we will have our freezers full of chicken for you guys until it sells out sometime in the winter. So make sure you get yours if you want them. But they're doing good. Renovating the pasture in ways that only they can do. And comfortable in the shade. And how could I forget Daisy and Dante, our family dairy cows. Doing well. Milk them every morning. Really enjoying that. Hi guys. So that's it. That's what's happening here in late August. A lot of the same things, but hitting the ends of things and getting ready for the fall. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for supporting us in this work. We obviously think it's really important to protect the land and provide nourishing food for people. And we thank you for eating the food and watching the videos and supporting us, telling your friends, so that we can continue to do this work. So thank you, and we'll see you in the next video.